Chatters, chatties, rescuers, welcome home for a Great American Chat, a podcast where we chat about great American media. I'm Chad Maurice, and back with me today is Angie Lyman. Angie, welcome.
Hey everyone, nice to be here.
So glad you could return.
Yes, anytime. I love it.
So, we're chatting today about the fourth episode of County Rescue, but I want to know your thoughts so far. What do you think of this series?
Well, I just rewatched all the episodes yesterday
Oh,
to
did you?
kind of refresh my memory, and I really like it. I think I wasn't expecting the amount of God talk and,
Uh-huh.
kind of finding your purpose that God wants you to do and that kind of thing. So that's been actually really refreshing. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all the characters are very compelling and I want to know more about their backstories. And I love first responders. I have two brothers who are law enforcement officers. So it hits really close to home. My one brother is in the jail, but the other is on the road and goes to accidents. And,
Oh,
the
okay.
funny thing about him is that he hates death. He was always scared of funerals, like seeing dead bodies, that kind of thing. I actually worked at a funeral home for a couple years, so I dealt with a lot of, death and things like that. But my brother was always scared of death. But he has dealt with a lot of death being a law enforcement officer, a deputy. He goes on a lot of car accidents and deals with suicides and like all sorts of different kinds of deaths. So that's been something that he's had to overcome. So,
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, so you can relate to this show since you have a relative who's involved in an EMS service.
yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And I look up to the people who serve in that capacity. I'm not one that does blood or anything like that. So the people that do, I'm just like, good for you. I'm so glad there's people that take care of us.
And like you, I was surprised with all the faith that's in this show too. Originally I thought it was just going to be a medical drama. I had no idea it was going to have a lot of faith in it.
Right. That
Yeah.
was a good surprise. Like I was surprised,
Hmm.
but I was like, oh, I like this aspect because as a person of faith, sometimes you don't see that portrayed as much in the media as
Hmm.
you'd like because you can
Oh yeah.
relate to it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Now, before we get into the episode, I need to remind everyone that tomorrow night the Great American Book Club is meeting at 7 o'clock Eastern on Zoom. Cami and Father Randy will be discussing the book Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. Now, Angie, I know that you're a writer. Have you read Little Women?
Yes, I
Oh,
have.
have you?
Hmm. I have read
Oh,
it
okay. Okay.
and I have watched all of the adaptation movies. My personal favorite was the 1996 one. I still cry. The scene where Beth dies, like if it comes on and I haven't even been watching, but if I hear that music and it starts, like I start crying. So yes, I love Little Women.
Okay, all right, good, good. So, episode 4, County Rescue. I'm going to read the overall synopsis and then we'll get into it. The synopsis says the team celebrates Tim's solo save. Tensions rise with Tim's success. Duke and Dani's personal struggles continue to unfold, and Chief Scotty faces a dilemma, the final decision on who gets the job. All right, so let's get into this episode here. Here we go. Whoops. Wrong slide. There we go. So everyone's watching Tim on the news. He has to wear a superhero cape and buy everyone ice cream. Griffin and Dani don't seem happy. And Marco says Tim is going viral. Although, if you look at his phone, it says the video only has 30,000 views. So I'm thinking, is that really viral?
I mean, I guess it could be considered in their area. I don't know. Maybe it went more after that. I don't know.
Yeah, I always thought in order for something to be considered viral, it has to get millions of views.
I guess that's viral to them. Maybe they should have upped that count a little bit on that
I
screenshot
know they
there.
should have. I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. Oh, so let me get your reaction. What was your reaction to the end of the third episode when Tim saved Bolton Friction and got this national attention that he's getting?
I thought, wow, okay, now we have a competition, because it really
Mm-hmm.
did. It made him more of a front runner because, like Scotty said, like, oh, how do I take the hero and reject him that everybody knows that, he's saving this famous singer or whatever. So
Mm-hmm.
it definitely put him back into the running, I feel like, since Griffin's kind of the front runner because his dad's the fire chief and, you know, has known Scotty forever. So
Mm-hmm.
you kind of got to put him as the front runner. But then this was definitely a twist to kind of put Tim back into the running. So,
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh wait, what's Kat saying? We got Kat is here. Hey Kat, glad you're here. Chad, you have a fantastic eye for detail. Oh really?
well,
Oh thanks. What?
analyzing the picture screens and stuff, it's what we do, right?
Oh okay,
I do it
thanks
on
Kat.
other shows as well. So
Oh, she must be talking about the screenshots that I grabbed.
yeah, the
That's
details of
funny.
only the 30,000 views. Now, when I
Oh,
get
the
30,000
30,000
views on my
views.
reels, I think that's pretty good, but
Oh yeah, for me or you, yeah, that'd be fantastic. But it's definitely not considered viral though. Yeah. All right, what happens next here? Okay, Dani is out sweeping the garage. Ashley checks on her. She says she just wants to be alone. She looks into the ambulance and she sees the dancing Hawaiian girl that Tim got her that she put between the seats there. So Angie, I gotta know what were you thinking when you saw this scene and she looks at this dancing girl?
I'm trying to think, like, I can't remember when she put that in there. I'm trying to remember. I was watching last night, but it was late and I'm trying to remember what that was for.
Oh,
Remind
why
me.
she put it in there?
Yeah, remind me because I
Oh,
watched it, but
the last
I'm trying to remember.
episode, and now I got to refresh my memory here. The last episode, she decided to just take this, or well, in the beginning, the first episode, remember they're washing the ambulance, and he
Yes.
asked her if she could go
Oh
anywhere in
yeah,
the
it
world,
was
where would
because
she want
she
to
wanted
go?
to go to Hawaii for
She
her
said
dream
Hawaii.
vacation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. I remember that now.
She said
I
Hawaii. So then in the
Yeah.
second episode, he gives her this Hawaiian girl dancing statue as a gift. They were
That's right.
restocking an ambulance, and he had
Sorry,
to
I had a
hit.
brain freeze for just a second. I was
He
like, "Wait a second." But yeah, now I
yeah.
remember because
He
they had
had
to
it.
talk and she wanted to go to Hawaii, he wanted to go to Poland
Yeah.
to visit family. Okay.
Yeah. And so
Yeah,
then he gives her this as a gift in the second episode. So then
right.
in the third episode, she takes it out of her locker and she puts it in the
Puts it in.
ambulance.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Memory refreshed. Yes,
Memory
I think
refreshed.
her looking at that, she's sad because uh her and Tim are not getting along and they kind of broke their alliance
Uh-huh.
because Tim was not happy with the time she was spending with Griffin and it was
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing. It's kind of the whole love triangle thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tim has a crush on Dani but he thinks that Dani just sees him as the study partner and
Mm-hmm.
so I think she's feeling bad because they're on the outs, kind of like they're not
Yeah.
really talking anymore. So
Oh, excellent point. Excellent point. Because when I saw this scene, I was thinking, oh, she looked at that statue. I couldn't figure out what that meant. It had to have some significance. But yeah, you're right. It must have to do with her feeling bad about she and Tim not getting along.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I took it. But
Yeah,
I don't
that's a
know.
good point. Yep. Yep. Excellent.
Also, I think she's
What?
upset in this scene because she at the end of episode 3, I think, she saw the leaderboard thing that Scotty had behind his phone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why she was kind of staying away from everyone because she was still upset about that, like, "Oh,
Uh-huh.
I don't even have a chance. I'm
Yeah.
all the way down at the bottom." She was really down and deflated.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, true. True. Yep. All right, so Marcos does a drawing of Super Tim, and when I chatted with Riley Huff, the actor who plays Tim last week, he told me that he has this drawing at home.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he says he's going to frame it and put it up on his wall.
That's awesome. I love that.
Marcos gets a call from Tiffany. He tells her Duke won't listen to him, and he says, "Stop calling me at work. I'm around Duke all the time."
Yeah,
Okay.
I
What?
think you're kinda supposed to wonder, like, "Oh, is something going on with him and Tiffany?" But for me, it was, like, pretty clear. He's just trying to help Duke
Yeah,
out,
he's just trying to help Duke. Yeah.
and yeah, this was a really intense episode with Duke and
Mhm. Mhm.
him just kind of spiraling more and
Oh yeah.
needing help, you know? And his
Mhm.
wife is just hopeless, kind of like, "It's never gonna get better,"
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
hoping that maybe Marcos or someone can help him, but
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
poor Duke. Something obviously happened. I'm just really curious, like, clearly some big event had to happen to trigger the PTSD, and then he just
Mhm.
doesn't talk about that, and then he just has been holding all this stuff in for 10 years. But there
Mhm.
had to be some event with his daughter. Is that, like, the feeling you get, that there was some event with his daughter?
Oh, you
I don't
think
know.
so? Is that what you're thinking?
That's kind of just because when he started talking about when Marcos was talking to Duke about his daughter, he's like, "I don't wanna talk about that." So,
Oh
it
yeah, he
makes
snapped at him. Yeah, he
yeah,
snapped
so
at
it
him
makes
about
me wonder
his.
if some incident happened with his daughter, and that's why the kid calls are really traumatic for him, and that's where the
Oh.
PTSD is pulling from, is some event. That's what I
Oh,
wonder.
see, I
But this
always
might
I
just be my writer brain, like,
oh,
trying to piece things together.
see, I got the idea that the kid calls are tough for him because he has kids.
Yeah, and
That's
that is true because, like, when my brother has gone on when his kids' age have been hurt,
mhm.
that is really hard. So it could just be that, but it seems like PTSD would be triggered by something traumatic
Mhm.
and not just
Mhm.
a collection of trauma. I don't know, but
Mhm.
we'll have to see, like, if they reveal something about that.
Uh-huh.
That's just me as a writer, though, like,
Uh-huh.
that's I always think
Right.
about the way that I think that the story would be or what I would write or
Yeah, you're trying to figure out what the character's backstory is.
yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's I'm kind of too maybe I overthink things, but
Now, what's Kat saying in the chat? She says it seems like something happened with a child. Maybe he lost a daughter. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
see, it just seems like something triggered the PTSD, and then he's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of, like, tried to push that aside and, like,
Mm-hmm.
that's why he's drinking and it's getting worse, it's not getting with the more calls that he
Yeah.
goes on, the more he
There,
just
what could have triggered it is maybe a child died on him when he went to a call,
yeah, and
and maybe
that's
that's what
very well
triggered it.
like,
Yeah.
it probably was like I said, it maybe not had to do with his own child, but something clearly happened, and
Mm-hmm.
then it still haunts him, and he's reminded of it when he has similar calls or something. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I would think.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I just kind of went off on a tangent,
No,
but
no, that's okay. We're
it
gonna
does
chat
seem
more
like
about Duke later.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
definitely something going on there that Duke
Yeah.
is just trying to and people that have PTSD, they're in denial,
Oh
for a
yeah.
long time until
Oh
they
yeah.
finally something happens, they either get help or tragedy strikes, you know? That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of how, I have two brothers in the military. I have a big family, but
Mm-hmm.
you see that all the time with military that um there's a lot of PTSD associated with the things they have to endure, and they
Mm-hmm.
either get help for it and have to admit that they have a problem, or tragically a lot of them just give up,
Right.
and it's
Right.
tragic ending. So,
Right. And it's funny, Danny's the main character of the show, but a lot of these episodes have a lot to do with Duke, focus on Duke and his life a lot.
yep,
Yeah. Yeah,
that's true.
which I thought was funny. So, Dani thanks Tim for the ice cream, even though she didn't have any. She congratulates him on saving Bolton Friction. Chief Scotty is watching the news clip of Tim, and he is not happy. Griffin peeks his head into his office and asks him if he needs anything and reminds him he is in it to win it. Griffin is such a brown noser, I'm telling you.
He is. He drives me nuts.
I know.
I loved when Dani calls him a griffin. She's like, "What is that? A bird?" And you look like a bird.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
comments, that was hilarious. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Scotty calls Andy and Ashley into his office, asks them, "What am I supposed to do? Griffin is outperforming both Tim and Dani. Griffin's father is breathing down my neck, but Tim is the hometown hero." Andy says, "I don't know what to tell you. Tim was on his own for that save. I didn't help him out one bit." They tell Scotty that Tim's TV interview went viral. And Scotty says, "I don't even know what viral means, but I'm sure I hate it."
Scotty's got some good one-liners.
No, whoops. Yeah, he does throughout this whole series.
Yep.
He's had some good one-liners for sure, for sure. Now let me go back to where I was. So Duke goes home after his shift. His daughter asks if he is coming to her dance recital. He says he would like to, but he has to work. Tiffany, his wife, asks for a kiss. He gives her a peck on the cheek, and she does not like that. She was expecting a big, juicy one on the lips. She calls her mom and asks if she can move in with her, or at least stay with her for a little while. So, yeah, Tiffany's fed up. She's had it. She's moving out.
She needs something to change.
She's Billy Joel in it. She's moving out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting
that's a tough one.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to see that happen.
Yeah, I think it's hard,
What?
in marriage and family, and it's really hard when you don't have that support of a spouse, because whether it's just because they're working a lot, or whether it's because they do have this trauma that they're unwilling to work through, and so they turn to alcohol and those things, that's something that a lot of people face. And marriages have their ups and downs, so it's I really do appreciate the realism in this show, and showing even just like the different family dynamics. Dani's family dynamics is very relatable to a lot of people, and yeah, the situation that Duke's in, it's very relatable to people, and I really appreciate that, because I think a lot of people can relate.
Yeah, I like that they're showing this on the show. Yeah. So let's see. Now we're up to shift 18. Tim gets on Dani's case for bringing Scotty flowers. He says, "You're learning Griffin's tricks." The fire chief stops by to visit Scotty, and Dani gets on Griffin's case for bringing donuts all the time. Duke is in the locker room. he starts to take a drink out of his flask, but he stops himself and decides not to drink. Now, right here in this scene, I thought this was going to be a changing scene for Duke. I thought that he was going to like stop drinking at this moment and kind of straighten up. What were you thinking?
I think that was his intent, but just like in life, people with that problem, they make that decision several times, but until they actually, I don't know, it's not just that simple. Like
Mm-hmm.
most people can't just be like, okay, I'm done with
Right.
that, and
Yeah,
I'm
they
gonna like,
can't. Yeah.
um,
They,
because something is gonna trigger him again,
mm-hmm.
and that's what happens. He gets triggered later in the
Mm-hmm.
episode,
Mm-hmm.
and so then he gives up. That's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of how it works with things like PTSD. Is you're fine for a while, and then something triggers you, and
Mm-hmm.
so you go back to your bad habits of however you cope with
Mm-hmm.
that. So yeah, I definitely think, because he had talked to his daughter and he was like, I have to get better for my wife and kids. Like I think he has that desire. He just doesn't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, that's very relatable because I think we all have these moments of, okay, I'm gonna be better, whatever issues we're having. Oh, I gotta be better. But it's not always just as simple as like, okay, I'm better.
Right.
Sometimes
Right.
that happens that way in movies. Oh, it's fixed. But in reality,
Yeah.
it takes a lot more than that. So,
You can't quit cold turkey. But I
yeah.
thought he was making kind of the first steps to get
And I think he
control of it.
was, which is, I
Yeah.
think, which will hopefully make him more receptive once, you know, or help him. It just kind of helped me to see him as he is really strong and he
Hmm.
can do it. He just
Hmm.
has to have everyone rallied around him because I don't think he had everyone rallied around him in the way that they knew that he needed from
Hmm.
them. I think
Hmm.
Marcos was really trying and stuff, but like I think now they realize, oh, he really does have this problem. We've got to rally around him and help him get what he needs to
Hmm.
make that change.
Yeah.
So I think I liked it because it showed he is strong, but also later on shows that he's not there yet. He still
Yeah.
needs help.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. For sure. So Griffin asked Tim why Dani is so cold. Tim says, I don't know. Maybe she is hurting, which is true. She is hurting. Griffin says, hey, back off, man. He tells Tim that he's being rude. And I'm thinking, why? He asked Tim a question and Tim answered it. I mean, Tim's not being rude. I don't know why Griffin said that.
Griffin's an interesting character.
I know. I know. Griffin says, I think this hometown hero stuff is going to your head. Dani gets on Griffin's case about his daddy visiting. She asks, is he here to make sure you get the job? Griffin says, what's wrong with you? They are best friends. Ashley knows that something is up with Dani, so she has a talk with her sitting on the back of an ambulance. Ashley says, pretty cool about Tim being on the news, right? Dani says, yeah, Chief is going to have a tough time deciding between him and Griffin. Ashley says, and you too. Dani says, I'm not stupid. My chance is over. I'm a failure. Ashley says, why are you thinking that? Dani then stands up and loses her temper. Dani says, the voice I heard telling me to be an EMT was wrong. Ashley says, I refuse to believe God thinks you're a disappointment. God is faithful. Don't give up. Dani says, let me finish my last two shifts in peace. Ooh, so this was an emotional scene between these two.
It was. I really like
Yeah.
that talk where Ashley's like, basically, don't listen to the adversary. Don't let the wrong voice influence you. Remember that God, if he spoke to you, then he's going to help you get where you need to get. It may not be in the path that you think it's going to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
he'll always be faithful to what he tells you. So yeah, just another faith-filled scene where we all go through those times where we're like, why is God putting me through this? Or why,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, I must have heard wrong.
Yeah.
That must not have been how I really felt. But then, you know,
Mm-hmm. When you have that inner voice telling you to do something, you have to wonder where that comes from and if you should follow it, you know?
yep,
Yeah. So yeah, I usually like all the scenes between Ashley and Dani because Ashley's always very encouraging to her. But this scene, boy, this scene, it was Dani kind of got mad at Ashley for
yep.
trying to help her out.
Well, like Tim said, she's hurting. And
Mm-hmm.
nobody knows that she has seen, the leaderboard and she kind of feels hopeless. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We'll chat about that. Yeah, she saw the leaderboard. Yeah, so it's a combination of things is why she is upset. Okay, let's see. Let me get back to here. So Tiffany visits Marcos at the station. Uh-oh. She tells him she is leaving Duke. Marcos says you can't do that. It will push him over the edge. Andy looks out the window and sees Marcos and Tiffany hugging, and he gets the wrong idea. Andy tries to talk to Marcos, but a call comes in. A girl is down at a dance recital. Duke and Marcos go out on the call. They help this girl who is having a seizure. Okay, so when this call came in about this dance recital, I thought for sure it was going to be Duke's daughter. Is that what you were thinking?
same. I
Oh,
and that's obviously what Duke thought too. Like,
uh-huh.
oh, she's got this dance recital. And they even
Mm-hmm.
said it was at the same studio. So
Yeah. I
it
thought for sure it
definitely
was
hit a
going
nerve.
I thought for sure it was going to be because his daughter earlier in episode asked if he was going to go to her dance recital, and then this call comes in about a dance recital. I thought 100% it was going to be his
That
daughter.
would have been really interesting had it been his daughter and she was
Yes,
hurt.
I
That would
think it
have been
would.
very
I think it
interesting.
would have been better. I think it would have made this episode better.
Yeah. And then he would have had to confront his wife and things like that. So I
Yeah,
definitely think that was a missed opportunity.
I think so too. I agree with you 100%. And because I think if it would have been his daughter, and maybe if something happened on the call, like maybe, he was buzzing from his drinking and wasn't thinking right, and he did something wrong, and his daughter winds up in the hospital. And I thought maybe
That would wake him up
that
better.
could have wake him up. Yeah. Yeah. To
That's
realize that
true.
what he's doing is wrong. I think that would have been a great storyline.
That's true. But I
Yeah.
guess we'll see what happens in the next episode and maybe it'll make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I definitely thought that was kind of a missed opportunity that we didn't
Yeah.
get to see the wife and daughter at the dance recital. I thought that could
Mm-hmm.
have been really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I think maybe if this would have been like 10 or 12 45-minute long episodes, maybe they could have done that storyline and expanded that story.
True.
But since these are only 5 episodes and they're only 30 minutes, maybe they couldn't. But yeah, yeah, I think that would have been a really, really interesting.
Yep.
So back at the station, Marcos. Oh, let me change these slides again. Wait a minute, so I can make the pictures bigger. Back at the station, Marcos asks Duke again if he wants to talk about anything. Duke refuses again and says nothing is haunting him. Then he goes to his locker room and takes a drink from his flask. So my hope that he was going to start changing things around did not last long.
Nope. Got too triggered on that call, I guess.
I know, I guess so. I know, because it was a kid who probably reminded him of his daughter, I'm sure.
Yep.
So Andy confronts Marcos, accuses him of having an affair with Tiffany. Marcos explains what is happening with Duke. Andy apologizes and wants to help. So Andy convinces Duke to play chess. Duke sees Tiffany's caller ID and text messages on Marcos's phone and throws a fit. He punches Marcos. Everything comes out in the open in front of everyone. Andy says, "We can't have you drinking, Duke." Duke says, "I've got it under control." please don't tell Scotty. Andy says, go home and make sure you tell the chief during your next shift or I will. Ooh. So here's where the you know what hit the fan. Everything came out.
Yes. That was
Yeah.
intense.
This was intense. And like you mentioned earlier, I think now that everyone knows and everyone wants to help Duke and he sees that maybe he'll start changing his ways.
I hope that's the plan. He needs something. He needs something to wake him up and getting him the help that he needs. So
For sure, for sure. I was surprised that this was all came out in front of everyone.
yeah,
Even the new
too.
recruits know now. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody knows because everyone was there in that room. I was surprised about that.
Kind
Like,
of
that's
just
the way
felt
they
like
did it.
some big intervention thing.
Yeah, an
So,
intervention. Yeah, yep. That's a good point. Yeah, that's exactly what it felt like.
but it was funny. I did think the scene where Andy thinks Marcos is having the affair is kind of funny just because he's like, why would you do that? And he's like, it's not what you think. So yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought that was funny that they put that in the story that they would go with Andy thinking Tiffany and Marcos was having something between them. I thought that was kind of funny.
I will say, I think these characters are really well written. Like, they're all really interesting. And I like that Andy and Ashley are married. And I don't know. I just like all the different characters and the way they created them. So I'm impressed with that.
They're married and they always have words of encouragement with the other staff
Yes.
members and are always trying to help them out.
I like that they have the stable married couple. They're kind of there to keep the family together, I guess, kind of thing. And they all just have such different stories and they're all interesting. And I really like that. So it's not just, I don't know. I think there's a lot of depth to this writing and I've been really impressed. I've been really impressed with what Brian and what they've done with it. So I hope it continues. I really hope they get more episodes.
It's as though like the other staff members are like Andy and Ashley's kids or children.
Yeah.
And they want to take care of them and guide them and kind of teach them, between the right and wrong,
Like Scotty's the ornery uncle. And then you have the like stable married couple. Something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like it. I just think they've done a great job. I really hope it continues. So
So Duke goes home to find his house empty. And then he goes to a bar and starts slamming down a few. Oh, no. That's what set him over the edge, just like what Marco said.
Yep, because she said if you leave him, it's going to spiral. And I'm interested to see what happens after this in the next episode, because clearly that's not going to be good. So
yeah. Something's going to go down, I have a feeling.
There's going to be
something's going to happen. Something's going to happen.
Yep. Either he's going to get in a fight or I don't know, something's going to happen.
Something's going to happen, I think, that may affect his job, I think.
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Yeah. So Dani has dinner with her family to celebrate her dad's birthday. Her mom calls her fat and puts down her and puts down
not believe
I could not believe that
not
either.
Believe that line.
I know. She says, "Oh, that's a nice dress. I like the vertical ridges or lines or something. It covers up the weight you've been putting on." Like, wow, nice,
If
Mom.
my mom said that to me, I would be like, "What in the?"
I know.
I mean, and I would never say that. I have 3 daughters, and I'm like, you don't say that to your child.
I know. What a nice thing to say to your daughter.
These parents are insufferable. Wow. No wonder she's messed up.
I know. I couldn't believe that. I mean, I thought her mom was pretty bad, but then when she said that, I was like, wow, she's even worse than I thought.
I know. Yep. Her family.
I know. So her mom also puts down her EMT abilities while they're having dinner. Her parents make her cry. She says, maybe I'm not right for this. And then the next shift, she gives Scotty a white rose and says, I quit. Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun. Cliffhanger.
Oh, man. And that's how the episode ends. Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot. That was a lot of stuff happening in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So, Angie, what are your overall thoughts on this episode?
It was really intense and moved really fast. Like, I think the first couple episodes, not that they were slow, but they moved a little bit slower. So this
Yeah.
one was just like it's getting to the climax, for the
Hmm.
finale or whatever. So yeah, there was a lot going on, and it held my interest the whole time, and just lots of questions of what's gonna happen, and yeah, just
Yeah.
really
And,
excited for the next episode
and
to see how everything plays out.
And speaking of the finale, there's only one episode left. I don't see, I don't see how all these storylines can get wrapped up. There has to be cliffhangers. There has to be. I don't see.
I'm
I
just
don't
crossing
know.
my fingers they get more episodes, because yeah, I don't think they can tell the stories that need to be told in one
Yeah,
more.
because Duke is going to need a lot of help to get through what he's getting through. So they can't wrap that storyline up in just one episode.
Here's my question though. See,
What?
I always think about these things. Why can't Griffin work for his dad at the new fire station as a paramedic?
Oh, they mentioned he had building a new fire station. They
Yeah, so
mentioned
I'm
that.
wondering, like,
Hmm.
can't can't Griffin go work for his dad as a
Hmm.
paramedic? Like,
Yeah, that's
does
I
that
thought that too earlier on in the season. I
so
thought
I
that as
wonder
well.
about that. And
Uh-huh.
then yeah, what if they have to fire Duke for the time being, and then
Hmm.
that opens up a spot
Yeah.
for Tim
Yeah.
and Dani to both
Hmm.
get the spots. I don't
Right.
know. I've just kind of been
Yeah.
wondering how they're gonna
Duke
work
may
that out.
have to take a temporary leave of
Yeah,
absence.
and so they both are
Yeah.
hired for the, you know,
Hmm.
for that period of time or whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking that too. Yeah.
So I definitely think there's ways that they can figure out how they can all stay in some
Hmm.
capacity. I don't
Hmm.
care if Griffin stays, he kind of annoys me. So, and plus I like love triangles unless they're short-lived. You know that some of us are
uh,
very burned by a
oh
very,
yeah.
very long love triangle.
Oh
So
yeah.
I
Uh-huh.
can handle it if it's just a few episode thing, but if they keep it going for
Well,
too long, it just
well, this love triangle was pretty short-lived. I mean, Griffin and Dani seemed very distant in this episode.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think, well, she seemed distant from both of them. So
Yeah.
she kind of went from having two guys to no guys. So,
Yeah.
but
Be- yeah, because in the last episode, she and Griffin are dating and they're flirting with each other. And in
mhm.
this episode, she's like cold to him and isn't even talking to him.
Yeah, I do like that she kind of her her connection to Griffin is more based on how they both think that they're a disappointment to their parents. So
Hmm.
that's
Right.
understandable. That's kind of what
Right.
they bond over.
Right.
But I do feel like her connection with Tim is a little more genuine, and
Hmm.
um I don't know. I like them.
Hmm.
I like them together. Like I would put them
Hmm.
together if I were to choose. Just I think that they also have a lot in common, but they have more in common of the right things that would
Hmm.
make them a good match.
Hmm.
So, and I just think they kind of have better chemistry on screen. But
Hmm.
that's just my thing. If you're
Yeah,
talking
she.
about like if they were gonna do a love connection, I would
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah, in this episode, she's colder, more towards Griffin than she is
Yeah.
Tim. Because she talked to Tim there when they were cleaning up after the ice cream. But I think she's upset with Griffin because she saw her picture at the bottom of that file cabinet drawer, and she saw his picture up at the top.
Yeah. And I think she
And
feels like, yeah, it's just all nepotism. Although, I mean, we really haven't seen him in the field. So
hmm.
according to Scotty, he's doing really well, but
Hmm.
clearly they're not really showing that. So we're not
Right.
We're not privy to that. So
Right.
it's kind of, I think as the audience, that makes us kind of upset because we see Tim doing good things. We see Dani doing good things and overcome, Dani's had to
Hmm.
overcome the early mistakes that she made.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Um, so you're rooting for them because they're more underdog.
Hmm.
So
You're right. That's a good point. We haven't seen Griffin working with anyone in the field like we have Dani and
so
Tim.
it's so it's hard for us to be invested and think, oh yeah, he
Yeah.
deserves it. He deserves the
Right.
job. It just seems
Yeah.
like he's sucking up, and that's why
Uh-huh.
he's
Uh-huh.
ahead.
Yeah. And another reason Dani's in a bad mood in this episode is because Tim of getting all this attention. Although
Yeah.
she's not upset with Tim, she's just kind of upset that someone else is
She
getting all
feels
the
like,
attention. Yeah.
well, she feels like God told me to do this.
Right.
I'm doing my very best. She's doing all that. Also, one of the things that I noticed in this episode is they're showing her doing all the grunt work. She's doing the work that the others can't be bothered to do. She's filling the oxygen tanks.
Yeah.
She's making sure everything's stocked.
Hmm.
And so really she is working as hard as she possibly can to do what she feels is her calling.
Hmm.
And then she sees these other guys just like, I mean, Tim, yeah, he was the hero who did the Heimlich on that guy, but that didn't require a lot of effort. That was just right place, right time.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas she's working bit by bit. That's the thing you've noticed through the episodes when she allowed the guy to fall off the gurney. Then, sorry, she started working really hard at lifting and getting
Hmm.
stronger so she could put them into the ambulance and building up her strength. And so
Hmm.
you notice her bit by bit getting better at her job and
Hmm.
making herself better and stronger and doing the little
Hmm.
things that the others are kind of ignoring. So I don't know. I really like the way that they're showing her progression because
Hmm.
it's not just like, oh, she had this lucky moment where she saved a life and she's a hero now and that makes her get ahead. It's kind of the slow and steady wins the race kind of thing where she's just slowly, you know, improving herself and learning what she needs to learn along the way. So that's what I
Right.
really like about her story.
Right. Plus, she has to work harder than the other two in order to get this job.
Yep.
Because Griffin, like the chief Scotty said, Griffin has been around this kind of stuff his entire life. He was born for this field. And Tim has a degree in pre-med, so he has a medical background. Whereas she is kind of, well, she was a pre-med major, but she dropped out of school. But
She's kind of just
this
someone
isn't.
that,
What? Go ahead.
well, just that she's been seen as a quitter and she's kind
Hmm.
of not really stuck with anything. And so she has
Hmm.
to work harder to prove that she will stick to this.
Right. 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 Plus, this isn't her background, so she has to work harder to prove that she's can do this job.
Hmm.
Yeah. So things in this episode definitely progressed with Duke's story coming out in the open and losing his family, possibly. And Dani thinks that either Tim or Griffin is definitely going to get this job. So she's like, what's the point? I'm going to give up, go back to her old ways of quitting everything. And we also had a lot of bickering in this episode. Tim accuses Dani of being a brown noser by bringing Scotty
The
flowers.
flowers.
And Dani accuses Griffin of being a brown noser by bringing donuts all the time. so the characters, a lot of bickering going on between the characters in this episode.
Yep. There
Yeah.
there was. And the flowers are clearly symbolic too. I mean, if I would have had more time, I probably would have gone and researched the different flowers that she brought him because they mean different things. And the white rose
Oh, that's a
is
good point.
definitely, the single white rose definitely has meaning when that's what she's like presents him with for quitting.
Well,
So
doesn't a white rose mean friendship?
friendship flowers are yellow. I know this because my
Oh,
husband my
yellow.
husband gave me yellow roses on our second date, the second time
Oh, okay.
he came by, and just because he was flustered, he said, "These mean friendship." And I was like, "Oh, you just want to be friends?" But no,
Well,
that's not what he
I'm
meant.
looking this up right now. White rose meaning. Hold on, I'm going to see what this means. White. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
I know it can mean purity and stuff like that, but I think there's something to do with like kind of death in white flowers and stuff too. So I don't know. I'm sure there was some symbolism and it was just a single white rose. Oh yeah.
What?
Pat says
Oh, cat.
maybe the white rose is like a flag of surrender.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe
I
it
think
was
it
a flag.
definitely it felt
Yeah,
like that was
it felt like it was, yes, representing like she's surrendering. Yeah, like, yeah, surrendering for, yeah, like
I
she's
just
putting
felt like
down
the
the
different
flag and
types of
surrendering.
flowers meant something. And I'm big on props and stuff like that. And I love when they symbolize something that has to do with what is going on at the time. So, like I said, I didn't take the time to look that up, but I'm sure. But the one white rose definitely felt like, okay, I resign. It definitely felt like symbolic of something
Uh-huh.
when she gave him that instead of an arrangement. So,
Oh, yeah, because in the other times she gave him an arrangement of flowers.
like there were
Yeah,
tulips and there were all different sorts of flowers. And I really do think they mean
you're
something
right.
because,
You're right.
but
This
yeah,
time it was a
I'm a nerd like
single
that
rose.
though. I love all the symbolism. Like when I write my stories, I definitely put things like that in my stories because I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a great way to tie things together or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Well, Angie, you had some good insight on this
Well, thanks,
episode.
Chad. I was
Yeah.
hoping I wouldn't be super boring. I'm
Yeah.
I
You had
think
a
I'm getting more comfortable the more podcasts I do because I really am not usually very comfortable in front of the camera, but
you made a lot of good points that I didn't think of. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by and doing this with me.
yeah, thanks for having me. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Now tell people your social media handles. Remind them where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram. It's all about Angie writing. And then it's the same. You can look me up as all about Angie writing on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it.
X.
So those are my
You
two
have
main
you
accounts.
have all about abbreviated, isn't it? AA Angie
Yeah,
writing or
because
something like that.
it wouldn't
Yeah, it
it
wouldn't fit.
either was already taken or something. So
Yeah.
it's AA Angie writing, I think is
Yeah.
what it is. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Something like that. Something like
But
that.
my username is all about Angie writing, the same as my Instagram. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just hit
Mm-hmm.
5,000 followers on Instagram. So
You did?
yeah,
Wow. That's a
just
lot of
yesterday.
followers. Holy man.
So
That's a lot of followers.
I know, like a year ago I had 500. So it's been kind of
A
a
year
really
ago? How did
yes.
you get so many followers so fast?
Well, the first big bulk of them came because I did have a viral reel get 2.5 million views.
Oh, really?
And so that kind of brought me a lot. And then I've just been steadily growing. So
Wow.
yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
So
awesome.
I've been trying to keep up
I'm,
with that. I actually run another fan account for Wes Brown. That's Brownie's Besties, if anyone's into Wes
mm-hmm.
Brown on that does Hallmark and those
Mm-hmm.
movies.
Mm-hmm.
So that one I don't have that many. I mean, I think I just hit 700 on that one, but yeah. So if you're a Wes Brown fan, like that one's fun. I haven't done as much lately on that one just because when he has his new stuff coming out, I'm more active on that one. And he has a few movies coming out this year. So hopefully once I hear more information about those. Oh, Kat, you're awesome.
Kat.
Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. Kat saying, you are
But
wonderful.
yeah,
Love your insights. Yeah, I agree.
all about Angie writing. I'm trying to get some of my personal writing going. That's another thing that I'm working on. But I write fan fiction and I'm starting on some other fiction. Also excited about Signed, Sealed, Delivered. Like, so that will be something that I'll probably post about too. My
Mm-hmm.
account is just kind of very eclectic. It's like Great American Family, it's Hallmark, it's all the things that I like. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
just centered on like one thing. So
Mm-hmm.
you'll get a variety if you come to my account. Right now it's very heavily One Calls the Heart just because that new season's coming out. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, man, 5,000 followers. I may have to call you a social media influencer pretty soon.
well, I don't know about that, but it's fun. It's been fun. So
Well, great. And just to remind everyone, again, tomorrow night, the Great American Book Club, is meeting, and you can sign up for that on Great American Family's website at greatamericanfamily.com. And I will see you next week for the season finale, a recap of County Rescue. And you'll be live posting on X, right? For the season finale?
Yes, I can't promise but I will schedule some tweets
Okay.
if I can't live tweet, because my daughter has her sports award that night. Like the winter sports award banquet is that night.
Oh, okay.
My kids have had a ton of stuff going on
I
lately,
know you're running
so
around
that's
a
why
lot. Yeah.
I'm kind of inconsistent because it's just I'm trying to get to spring break, and then maybe we can all breathe for a second, and but then it's busier because my kids are around. But yeah, but
Mm-hmm.
I will definitely schedule some tweets, and then I'll come back and tweet some stuff later once I'm home from the awards night. But yeah, I feel
Okay.
bad because Monday nights are just hard. There's always something going on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. More and more people are starting to live X the County Rescue since the
yeah,
first episode. I've noticed more and more people are joining in on the
I'm
live postings.
impressed. I feel really bad. Like I said, they've scheduled all these school things for Monday nights, and I'm just like, well,
Yeah.
you do what you can do. But I will definitely like schedule some tweets and try to retweet stuff when I'm able to. So
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to the season finale, and I'm
yeah.
looking forward to seeing what happens and recapping it next week. And until then, rescuers, you keep the faith, keep smiling, keep your friends close, and keep your great American family closer. Thanks again, Ange, for being here.
Yep, we'll see you later.